So can you tell us any like particular stories that you've seen of, maybe cautionary tales of um, people who wanted to sell and were just basically unprepared, and that became very apparent in that first conversation with you or something?
Yeah. It was more like the fifth conversation. I made a mistake a couple of years ago, and I got a call, and this guy said, "Look, I was about to sell with XYZ brokerage firm, but I just didn't feel right about it at the end of the day. You came highly recommended. This is what they gave me for a value. Can we work together?" Great. And I said, "Well, based upon everything you said, sounds right." He said, "Just send me an engagement. Let's sign an engagement. Let's get going." I hadn't even reviewed the P&Ls yet. I sent him an engagement letter. So I get the P&Ls, right? We're not going to list the business until we dive in. It's normally not the way we do it. Normally it's review the P&Ls, firm up the number, see how close you are to your goals, and then sign an engagement letter if we're ready to go. In this case, I'm analyzing his P&Ls, and we're doing it on a Zoom call. So I'm scrolling through. We're talking about some specifics, and we get to the month of July, and he's like, "Whoa, hold on. What's that number right there in July? I didn't do $297,000 in revenue in July." I'm like, uh, "Well, this is your P&L. You gave this to me. What's the situation here?" And we dive into it. And basically, it was all wrong. The P&L was completely wrong. And the sad story is there that he was shooting for an exit of $10 million. The reality is his business was worth about half that. Still a big number, but it didn't achieve his goals. So he had to go back to the drawing board, hire the right bookkeeping firm to get the numbers right and get motivated to move on or to run the business for another 5 years or until it doubled in size, which was really, really hard because he was emotionally toast. He was done. He was ready to move on and just be done. The sad part is I was the Grim Reaper and was like, "Listen, man, this is not going to happen. Your goal, you're too far away. Your numbers are not right. You're not trending in the right direction. And you've got to, based upon the projections here, it's going to take another few years for you to be able to exit at that value." And so he didn't train, right? His numbers were all wrong. He did a cash accounting instead of accrual. He hired a bookkeeper that was just out of college that did exactly what the CPA said to do, and it was just simply all wrong. He wasn't prepared. So he's still running the business today. He hasn't exited yet.
Yeah, I think that's really common. And it's tough to be the bearer of bad news, but also if it's not going to hit your goals and you've already hit I call it the energy life cycle that an entrepreneur has. And you have it with different businesses. And people ask, well, why would anybody sell their business if it's making money and going well? Well, everybody has this energy cycle with every project and business that they're on. And I've had great businesses that I was just bored of and I was tired of. And I was like, okay, it's time for me to move on. Because if once that energy life cycle starts kind of going on the down, you start not treating that business the way you should. You start missing invoices. You start missing when you're supposed to place supplier, orders, those types of things. And so it's a very dangerous path if you wait till the last minute of like, I've hit the end of my rope. I'm ready to be done. Because if it's not going to hit your goals or you can't exit that business, all of a sudden, can you really revive yourself and revive the energy you need to continue to grow that business?
Yeah, that's spot on. Most people that are running these businesses as entrepreneurs, we get bored and we want to move on. We get shiny object syndrome. We've got an affliction called "I can do that." We think we can do anything. The benefit of preparing, training, and getting ready for an exit, just assuming it's going to be there, even if you choose to never sell because you love it, is that when you do get ready to move on to that next adventure, that you will have everything in order and you can do it easily and seamlessly so that you're free and clear. You got a bunch of money in the bank. You don't have to bootstrap as tightly on your next adventure. And you'll have another one for the most part. Most people do, and until they get that fourth or fifth exit that's so large that they don't need to do anything else.
I would say in my own journey, I've had a couple exits, and I've also had some businesses that I should have exited sooner. And then I knew my life cycle of energy was going on the way down. And I've determined with my own self, once I have that thought of the grass is greener on the other side, I need to sell this business. If I start having those thoughts, it's time for me to do it, because if I don't, I let that business kind of go down.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about, just on your own podcast and, and just in talking with you, Joe, an ignorance discount.
Mm.
When people try to go sell their business on their own, what is that, and how could people avoid that? Because it's a really common thing and people have no idea that they're missing out on it.
Well, one example, simple example of an ignorance discount. So if there's anybody in the audience that is running an FBA business, odds are they've heard from one of the aggregators, or people that are in the audience that are buyers. You can get your own ignorance discount by focusing in on this. You know, most entrepreneurs that have a cashback credit card, just put that cash back over into their personal account. If they're getting rewards, it never shows up on the P&L. Neither shows up on the P&L. And when they run a profit and loss statement and do an add back schedule, it doesn't occur to them that that's an owner benefit, and that should be in the P&L. It's generally, 1 to 2% of advertising, whatever the number might be. That's an ignorance discount. If you don't do a proper add back schedule, and that's just one of, I think, 18 examples I give in the book. If you don't do a proper add back schedule, you will lose tens of thousands of dollars in value on your business. In a situation where I've seen about, $50,000 added back just with cash back alone. And in this particular situation, we had to convert the rewards to the cash value by month. But it added about $50,000 to the discretionary earnings. And then when you add a multiple to that, in that particular case, it was a 4-time multiple. It's a strong business. That added $200,000 to the list price of the business. And when you start talking about those details and those numbers, entrepreneurs get much more motivated to get through those things that kind of make everyone's eyes bleed, right? Nobody gets super excited about that. It's not very sexy, but an extra 200 grand in that just one little add back line can get very exciting and very sexy. That's one example.